Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and the last video I mentioned about the Filipinos' perspective in terms of the geopolitics, especially particularly in relations to the South China Sea and why they need American protection, or at least seems like they have to allow Americans to have a military base in the Philippines, as a result causing them to be branded with this reputation as a puppet state of the United States. So I see the comments, and it seems like a lot of people missed the point. They didn't seem to get what the video is talking about. It's talking about the Filipinos' perspective. It's not what your perspective is. It's very easy to conflate the anti-West, pro-West perspective. In this very black and white kind of worldview. But the reality is that this is not how leaders around the world make decisions. Maybe in Europe, perhaps, I do not know, but in Asia is all very nuanced. And of course, some people talk about Vietnam having a lot more bases and whatnot. Yes, but Vietnam also have a much more powerful military than Philippines. Philippines has very, very limited military. So, and then of course, people also failed to realize that the entire of the Paracel Islands is basically all taken by the Chinese. So now we look at the Chinese perspective. So to look at the Chinese perspective, we have to turn around. And welcome to China. And it's going to be very disorientating, right? So this is China, Hainan Island, and at the Hainan Island, they have one of the most prolific military bases. They have a submarine base over there, and this entire sea over here, they mark it by a so-called 9-dash line, and they claim control over this entire region. This 9-dash line comes previously as a 13-dash line by the Republic of China, which is Taiwan. And when the communists took over the Republic of China, they conquered, and they just take over literally everything that the Republic of China has developed, including the claims of all the territory that the Republic of China has claimed. Basically, whatever they claim is largely have a lot to do with their own ambitions, and also based on what the maximum extent of any Chinese empire has ever gotten, including the Qing dynasty or the Qing Empire, which is actually not the Han dynasty, but it is somewhat Chinese if you look at it. So, and all this confusion comes, and people don't realize how difficult this is that to the Chinese, these are territorial waters. Like, there is no dispute. There is the entire foundation of every argument and this any debate always start with, this is an unalienable territory. This is all their territory. There is no debate about it. And as such, when you have all these bases and all these outposts that is being developed into all these South China Sea islands, particularly within the Spratleys, to the Chinese, this is actually infringement of their territorial waters or their sovereign land by foreign countries, including Vietnam, Malaysia, and Philippines. And as such, when you look at all this, all these footages of this Chinese fleet, spraying water at the Filipino ships and whatnot, to the Chinese thinks that the Filipino are actually the assholes. They think that the Filipinos are the aggressor, and the Filipinos are the one that is entering into Chinese water under false pretense, and they are doing their best to deter and make it difficult for the Filipino to infringe on their sovereignty. So they do the most minimum, which is to spray water. They use civilian vessels, militia ships, to try to surround them, to discourage them from infringing into their territorial waters. This is the Chinese way of thinking. It is very different from the Filipino way of thinking, because when you look at from the Filipinos' perspective, this chain of islands over here is historically where they do their fishing, and the Chinese typically do not fish that far away. Probably Paracel Islands, perhaps, typically not so far away. So to the Filipinos, this had always been their land, or at least their territorial waters, and they have the EEZ the economic exclusive zone to actually, you know, to so-called, this is guaranteed their waters. But to the Chinese, this is not their waters. The entire waters and everything that belongs within the South China Sea is part of China. So for the Chinese, there is no debate to them, which is why when they build and reclaim islands, the Chinese perspective is always that they are right. This is rightfully theirs, and it's none of anyone's business. So when we have all this freedom of navigation operations, where it's done by the Europeans, the Americans, where they sail through all these islands and sail between the Taiwan Straits, and sail very close to all these Chinese military bases within the South China Sea. The idea is to send a message to China that no, we do not recognize your claims. We do not recognize your claim of this water to be your territorial water, and then we're going to sail through it and show you that this is not yours. To the Chinese, they view this as outright aggression. So when you look at the Chinese statement, when they talk about, you know, this region here, they will say that, you know, all these are just, you know, provocations by the West, or provocation by Philippines, provocation by Vietnam, to infringe upon the rights and the territorial waters, or the sovereignty of Chinese. Which is why from China, they feel like, you know, it's only right that they start to build up military bases and outposts to protect their sovereignty. So that's why, you know, this is actually the differing. So when I talk about Philippines, I'm talking about from the Filipino perspective, where from the Filipinos, these are their waters, these are their islands. They do not recognize Chinese claims, and which is why they feel that it's a need to push back, and they go beyond what they could in terms of resources and military capabilities. They build outposts, they build some bases. You can see this little this little hut or no tower thingy. This is actually their military outpost. Small little outposts, and they're doing whatever they could to try to secure whatever islands that they can secure, and it's actually very, very difficult for them. I believe one of the vessels, I think, let me see where the vessel. So one of them is the vessel. Not this one. This is a proper island. Is it this one? No. Yeah, no, that's also a proper outpost. Let me find. I also can't find it. I think this is the one. Yeah, so you see this vessel over here. This is actually at the Second Thomas Shore, or the Ayungin Shore, or the Ren Ai Jiao, or the Ren Ai Ansha, or the Bai Ko Mei. So these are all different names from all the different claimant states. So you have the English name, and then you have, I think this is maybe Filipino, and then you have the Chinese, and then the Taiwanese Chinese, and then you have the Vietnamese. So everybody claims the same islands, and the Filipinos basically have no choice, but they run ashore this ship, and then they use it as an outpost in the Second Thomas Shore, and they have been trying very hard to resupply this outpost. The outpost started off was pretty fine, but no, it has been there for I think 10-20 years or more, and the ship is now very dilapidated, and basically, not comfortable at all. It's a very, very hard place to stand their troops, and the Filipinos try to resupply this area here, and the Chinese basically constantly use militia ships, coast guard, the navy ships. The navy ships is much lesser because they don't want to escalate the situation, because the Chinese know that geopolitically no one recognize Chinese claims. So as a result, the Chinese have to beat their time, and they basically use coast guards and basically civilian militia groups or militia ships, which I believe are all sailed by Chinese Navy sailors. So I don't think those are all civilians. They are actually all Chinese Navy. They are just sailing militia or civilian looking ships, and they are all the same design, as you can see from the previous update that I show you the photo. So they try to just make it difficult, make it impossible to resupply. And you can see that just nearby there's a Chinese major military base just off that shore. So you can see how ridiculous this is in terms of the situation. The distance between these two is merely 33 kilometers. It's very, very near. It's just near to each other. So the Chinese basically So just to emphasize again, if anyone from the Southeast Asia or from the West, when they try to argue with the Chinese about the South China Sea issue, it never seems to go anywhere, because the fundamental understanding of the reality is actually different. There is different realities. The Chinese feels that the East, their land. It's a bit like trying to argue about like with the Americans that Hawaii is not American. Then the Americans like, what you talking about? It's our island. The kind of situation where it's theirs, it's just simply theirs to them. It's simply theirs. And everyone here are just squatters. These are all squatters. These are all not supposed to be there. That's how the Chinese look at it. And so when you read news, you read statements coming from all the different sides. This is something to note, that the Chinese literally they are not so-called encroaching into other people's territory. That's not how the Chinese look at it. It's literally their territory. And for the other countries involved, be it Malaysia, Philippines, or Vietnam, they view the same way. They view that these are all rightfully theirs, is within their economic exclusive zone. In fact, for the Vietnamese, their claims are very, very similar, same as Philippines, that some of these islands are literally theirs. That's how they look at it. So then in that case, they have the same position as the Chinese. So which means that these are theirs. The Chinese or the other countries are infringing into their own territorial waters. So the only difference between all the Southeast Asian countries versus China is that China sends its military to constantly harass the other claimant states. That's something that the Southeast Asian countries do not do. So, and the Southeast Asian countries, be it Vietnam, Malaysia, or Philippines, generally they just let status quo be. They do not want to they just want to be there. They have their islands there. Their bases there. At least whatever resources that might be found over in this territory get exploited, maybe they can have a share. Maybe this is how the Southeast Asian countries is looking at it. But for China, it's a totally different thing. For China, this is sovereign water. This is sovereign territories, sovereign islands. This is where they will build the first line of defense. In the case where there is a major world war that the Chinese have to involve, and there's a high chance, super high chance, that they will be fighting alone. And when they fight alone, everyone is the enemy. Malaysia is likely to be an enemy. Definitely, they will think Singapore is not a friend. Vietnam is definitely is not going to fight on their side, given their history. Philippines is definitely on the American side. So the Chinese basically view this as a first line of defense. So is actually particularly sensitive for the Chinese, which is why in their propaganda exercises or operations, they always constantly try to draw in this 9-dash line and to make it into a common to make it like a common understanding or a common subconsciousness that 9-dash line is a normal thing. All these are Chinese islands. They're constantly doing this exercise. It is not wrong. I just want to highlight, as much as I say that I am anti the Communist Party of China or something, ultimately these are all rational things that any country is going to do. Whatever China is doing is rational. The only problem I have is that, like I said, they are too aggressive, and they made it literally impossible for the other countries to not push back. And as a result, you see the Filipinos. I can tell you, the Filipinos do not want to be Americans' puppet. They do not want to be continue to have this colonial situation to be upon them. But they are left with no choice. They do not have the economic capabilities. They do not have the political stability. They do not have the military power to handle a major power like China. So this is the situation in this region here. And just the quick video to talk about the Chinese perspective regarding the South China Sea. Then now you go rewatch the Philippine ones, the previous video, and you probably will understand better. Do not assume it's going to be like, oh, he's going to pro-US or anti-US. That's not how people behave. That's not how people think. No, it's like as if I'm a pro-vaccine or anti-vaccine. There's no such. It's not this kind of thing. It's people make decisions based on the circumstances they are in and whatever is rational to them. So anyway, rational to them, not rational, rational to them. So anyway, thank you for watching. Do press the like button, subscribe. Of course, like I said, go back and watch that one. That one was a prepared video, a lot more than this. Just that I feel like, there is a need to explain further, because people keep thinking, expecting that one video is supposed to talk about literally everything, like talk about Vietnam, how about China, this is US propaganda, I'm so disappointed in you. No, that's not how the world works. There is a lot of nuances, and I hope that I can do more and try to explain all these things. Anyway, press the like button, and I'll see you in the next update.